Hello again, everybody. This is Comic Book Hangover, and it is Friday, which means it's time for a Full Run Friday. Now, this is also going to begin my week-long, I guess you could say themed Full Run Friday episodes. So all this month, for the entire month of October, I'm going to be doing Full Run Fridays for the various horror movie series that I have. Today, we're going to start off with something that's not just one series, it's more of kind of a franchise, I guess you could say. I'm going to be talking about my Clive Barker comics. Now, in my collection, I don't have them all under Clive Barker. The Hellraiser books I have under Hellraiser, and the Nightbreed books I have under Nightbreed, and the Pinhead books I have in another section of my collection that I just try to forget about because those were horrible books. But I'm going to be going through my Nightbreed and Hellraiser books and some peripheral stuff as well. And again, this is going to be the beginning of the first of 5 videos I'm doing this month, basically, where I'm going to be showing some of the horror or horror-themed comics in my collection. And I do have quite a few. Granted, now most of them are going to be mini-series that I have, which I'm going to try to do as part of my Mini Mondays. Again, doing Halloween horror themed for the month of October as well. But I do have some regular runs of books that could be considered horror comics. There's going to be some stuff that's kind of popular right now, or kind of getting popular right now. That's some of the Midnight Sun stuff. That's Sons, S-O-N-S, before they decided to try to make it all-inclusive and change the word Sons from S-O-N-S to S-U-N-S for no real logical reason. But that aside, we're going to be going through some of the Midnight Sun stuff. I'm looking mostly at one particular title, but this week we're going to be talking about my Clive Barker comics. Now, there's going to be a couple of breaks in this video because I do need to switch from I think like 4 boxes. Because, it kind of ends in one box and kind of continues in the other box. There's going to be a couple of breaks in this one, but these things usually go pretty smoothly. So we're just going to go ahead and flip this camera around, and we're going to get into my Clive Barker books, starting with Hellraiser. All right, so now with Hellraiser. Now we're going to start off... Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to pop in there. But anyway, with the Hellraiser books, before we get into Hellraiser proper, there was 4 volumes, I guess you could call them. There were these 4 books called Clive Barker's Book of the Damned. Now, this was advertised as a Hellraiser companion series, and I'm thinking what that basically means is, the stories and concepts that didn't really fit in the proper book we're going to be put in this series here. Now, the one issue, aside from the fact that all the covers of the series were pretty sweet, and there's only 4 of them, there was one volume in particular, and that's this one here, Volume 3. This was the first time they did the origin of the box, the Lamarchian configuration or the Hellraiser box, whatever you want to call it. This one here, they really gave the origin of how this guy came up with the idea for the box, how he was able to construct the box in his low technology time. And it was pretty, I remember it quite vividly, that it was quite nasty. I mean, it included, him, doing horrible things to little boys and killing them and boiling the metal in their fat in order to get the metal to be pliable. It was pretty nasty stuff, but that one stuck out. And then there's this one here. It had a pretty sweet cover. This one just focused on a serial killer who ended up in hell or something like that. But that was that. That ran from 1991 to 1993. And again, it was just 4 issues. And considering you had 4 issues going over 2 years, that basically means that the series was not published on a regular basis. Now, one series that was published on a very regular basis, let's move this a little bit closer here, was the Hellraiser series, the Hellraiser proper series. Now that started with this issue here. Now these were done as they didn't call them issues, they called them books. And this is the one where it started. And these were done as a bi-monthly series back in the day. They were from Epic Comics, which was at the time a sort of a mature reader's imprint of Marvel Comics. They had a little bit more leeway. And I kind of wondered why they never were able to do the Hellraiser series, yet they had to kill off the Nightmare on Elm Street series because of the violence. Now, this series is far more violent than that. Now, the interesting thing with this one here is that you got Pinhead, who is the iconic character of the Hellraiser series. He does not appear in this book. He actually, if memory serves, his first appearance is not until the second issue. Now, this one here, I do have signed by Scott Hampton, one of the creators who worked on the book. You see his signature there. Now, the Hellraiser series sort of expanded on the concepts from the movies as well as the book, or the novella, The Hellbound Heart, written by Clive Barker. Now, Clive Barker himself did participate in these stories, in these books, as sort of a creative consultant, because he was the creator of it. It was his demented brainchild, so, he should have been part of it. Again, it was an anthology series. It really didn't adapt really anything from the movies. It expanded on the concepts. It introduced new Cenobites and new ideas. Now here's an interesting one here. Then this volume here, Bill Mumy. He was he played the little boy on Lost in Space, and Bill Ray, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. I know him from his work on the Ren and Stimpy show. So there was a lot of great. Let's see, there's John Bolton, Kyle Baker. Some great names were part of this series. I mean, it was a veritable who's who back in the day. Now this one here began the Devil's Brigade, where they kind of try to build an actual mythology with just the comics, just the stories themselves. So I kind of forgot where I was going with this here, but I mean, aside from there's some great covers here. Some amazing covers. There's a laser etched cover. If the video will do it justice, but both the logo and the main picture there, laser etched. It's kind of cool. This one here is a really nice painting of Pinhead. And of course, I'm going to try to keep these up here long enough so you can see the names of the people who were part of this series. This is book 12. Now, for a horror anthology series that was done in this prestige format, as you can see, it was a thicker book. This one had a cover price of $4.50, which at the time was quite pricey for a comic book. I mean, we're talking the early 90s. This series ran from 1989 to 1992. And back in those days, the regular comic books, like with Marvel Comics, they around 1990 they had just upped some of their books from I think like the Silver Surfer was 75 cents and went up to $1. When Ghost Rider was introduced, he was $1.50, I think was his first price point, and he was one of the more expensive series at the time. So for a book to actually be in this format and be here, went up to $4.95. It was pretty pricey back then. So it was one of those books that, do I really, really want to get it? Do I really need it? It's, you really had to commit to it. Now, I have to admit that I did skip a couple of issues, and I have since gone back and was able to get all of them. So I do have the full run of the epic Hellraiser series. I do remember that there was one Cenobite that was introduced in this series called Face. I don't believe he ever made it into the movies, but he was kind of the thespian, the actor of Hell, and his whole gimmick was, look, there's a Sandman crew right there. That's pretty cool. His whole thing is he would wear the skin of people that he had tortured, and at some point in time, he was using stuff like nails and staples, and at some point in time, the pain from that just wasn't living up to the standards of a Cenobite, so he switched to screws, and so he was screwing the skin onto his face. It's very bizarre. All right, so we wrapped up Hellraiser. Now here's an adaptation of Hellraiser 3: Hell on Earth, which was the beginning of the downfall of the Hellraiser franchise, in my opinion. I mean, to me, there's only two good movies. There's Hellraiser and there's Hellbound, Hellraiser 2. After that, I'm done. And probably one of the more unusual Christmas specials I have is the Hellraiser Holiday Special. Didn't think that would ever happen. These next two issues, these were interesting ones because at the same time that this series was going, like I said, this series ran from 1989 to 1992. Epic also in 1990 started doing a Nightbreed series. And to firmly place them in the same universe, they had Hellraiser versus Nightbreed, Jihad. And this one, they explain that in this reality, the Nightbreed and the Cenobites represent opposite sides of the same cosmic coin. They were the balance. Basically, Nightbreed were chaos, and the Cenobites were order, and they balanced each other out. Great read. 2-issue run there. Loved it. And then there's the Hellraiser Spring Special, Spring Slaughter. Love that cover. And the Summer Special. Because if you're going to have a Spring Special, you might as well have a Summer Special as well. And that ended the epic run of Hellraiser. Now in 2014, Boom Studios got the licensing for Hellraiser. And I think I'm missing some of these issues. I want to dropping this at some point. But, you know, this one here, it followed concepts, it brought in concepts from the movies. Specifically the first two. It brought in the character Kirsty Cotton, who was the hero, if such a thing could exist in the Hellraiser universe. She was in the first two. She had beaten Pinhead and the Cenobites twice. And the story that I remember is, I mean, there was something with her and Pinhead where she wound up at some point taking over as Pinhead or something to that extent. So that's the end of that box. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to the next box. All right, so here is the second box of Hellraiser. I think I'm missing some of these, at least one of these issues. So, and as I was saying, in this series here, at some point, Kirsty took over as the character of Pinhead. So I know Netflix or somebody is doing a Hellraiser series, and they're making a big deal out of doing a gender switch on Pinhead and saying we're going to have a female Pinhead. Well, the fact of the matter is the comic books did it first. I love that cover. This is probably my favorite cover of this entire run right here. And, you know, of course, yeah, I think this is when we're kind of getting to the point where we're going to do the switch. I think she got a cover or two as well. And they had some interesting covers. I mean, the story was kind of lackluster, in my opinion, so I'm pretty sure I wound up dropping it, you know, before the series ended. So an H.R. Giger type cover there. And so yeah, there's an annual. Just kind of popped in the middle of the whole run there for some ungodly reason. There she is. Female Pinhead. I don't remember why I put the annual right there. I think it's because it really continued the story from the comics. There's a good shot of the female Pinhead. So, the comics did it first, and they probably did it better because, in my opinion, the comics are always better than the movies or the TV shows. And issue 17, that's where I dropped this. Now, before I get into Nightbreed, there is another Clive Barker series that, if you're looking for Clive Barker stuff, if you're a fan of Clive Barker's material, and you want to get something that's not quite mainstream, that's not Pinhead, that's not Nightbreed, he did have another. This was also through Epic, I believe. No, this is Eclipse Comics. They did an adaptation of his Tapping the Vein. Now, these were some great covers. I got this as a set from my LCS some time ago because I'd never owned them, and I've always wanted to, mostly because I love this cover. Now, the logo and Clive Barker's name were embossed with some foil on them, so they were shiny and they were raised up a little bit. I love that cover. And I think the last cover in this series was my second favorite cover. This one always kind of reminded me of Sandman. It's kind of a Sandman-esque cover there. And then there's book 4. The funny thing is I looked forward to getting these for so many years. I finally got them. I still haven't read them. And then there's this one. This one always kind of reminded me of a Nightbreed type character. But I like how they managed to put, and this one here, actually, this one doesn't have the titles aren't embossed and there's not foil. But I like how, he's got this jacket here that has all these mouths on it, and they put the title there. But you can, if you look close enough, you can see where there's a mouth that's kind of going happy on his nipple there. So that's kind of interesting. So again, before I get into the Nightbreed I only got, there were 2 runs of Nightbreed plus a backup story in an Eclipse 4-parter they did that I don't think I ever got. But there's something else different that Clive Barker had with comic books. So let's jump into Nightbreed. And we're going to wrap this up with, as I said, Nightbreed. Now, Nightbreed, also, this is from Epic Comics. And again, this one started in 1990 and wound up, there's actually kind of an interesting history to this one. Now, this started off as, I love that cover. And there was a little insert thing that came out, I think, with this book. Kind of gave you a rundown of some of the characters and concepts in it. Anyway, as I was saying, this began as an adaptation of the movie, where unlike Hellraiser just became its own thing and ran with it from there. Nightbreed became what started off as an adaptation, actually not as an adaptation of the movie. It was an adaptation of the original screenplay, the original script by Clive Barker. And what's interesting about it, aside from that, and aside from the fact that this is a sweet cover as well, there's a lot of great covers in this series, by the way. It was supposed to be just a 4-issue series, but what happened, the way I remember it anyway, is the series sold really well. And everybody was really enjoying it. So Marvel made the announcement partway through the release of the 4 issues that Nightbreed was going to continue. And the question at the time was, are we going to get a new number 1? Which, would have been acceptable, I suppose, if we're going from an adaptation to an ongoing story. But they decided to continue the numbering. So we got Nightbreed. I don't know if there was any kind of a break in there. See, there's July. Okay, so we got September. I think this might have been a bi-monthly book. But they started doing stories that picked up after the events of the movie. So they kind of melded the original screenplay, the original script with the movie. And we got new characters. And if memory serves, we started following a different band of characters as they were trying to find a new Midian. If anybody's familiar with the awesome cult classic movie Nightbreed, the whole thing focused on a group of creatures of the night, monsters, if you will, that just wanted to be left alone, and they lived in a city called Midian that existed underneath a cemetery. At some point in the movie, the local yokels discovered it, attacked it, destroyed it. A bunch of breed died, and those who survived left to find a new safe haven. And this expanded on that idea. We found the different characters. We got new characters, which you've seen all these new characters. Actually, where's this dude at? This guy here, I don't remember what his name was, but just as it shows here, he had this ability of stretching out his mouth and putting anything in there, and that was his teeth. We got, Nightbreed that created myths and legends, beautiful covers. And it's just unfortunate that this is back in the time when Marvel didn't let their creators sign, have their names on the books. They also brought in Rawhead Rex, which was another Clive Barker creation. He was sort of a demon god that was uncontrollable and was just destroying anything and everyone. Now, when I remember when they made the announcement that Rawhead was going to be in the Nightbreed series, there's a Nightbreed character, Peloquin, who is he's sleek, he's violent, he's sort of like their tough guy, sort of like the Berserkers, and he showed up, and I was like, okay, I want to know what's going to happen if Nightbreed Peloquin faces off against Rawhead Rex. I wish I could remember. I really need to. And there you go. It was a bi-monthly series. Now it goes to monthly. I need to reread this series. I remember it being a lot of fun. Then the cover art kind of started to change a little bit. There's Kelly Jones right there doing that cover art. Kelly Jones did some of my favorite Batman covers back in the 90s. They kind of also got into how some of the Nightbreeds created some of the myths and legends that we know today. And I'm not sure if they actually ever found in the comic book series, if they ever found a Numidian. But I remember the series was a lot of fun. I did, this is another one that kind of fell out of it. This is a $2.50 comic book. At the time, still pretty pricey for a book. But, it was great stuff. And we got the final days. This is towards the end of this run. We're in issue 21. Probably my least favorite cover right there. It's colorful, but not my favorite one. That's Baphomet. He was the Nightbreed god. Issue 22. 23. I was always iffy on this cover, but I think I lean more towards liking it than disliking it. Another Pelican cover. And this would wrap it up. I think that's Shauna Sassy. It was her name. So 25 issues. So a series that began as a 4-issue adaptation of the script of Nightbreed ran for a couple years, and it had 25 issues. That's quite impressive, especially for Marvel back in those days. And then in 2014, Boom Studios decided they were going to do a Nightbreed series. I only grabbed the first issue. I couldn't really get into it and wound up dropping it after that. So that's it. Those are my Clive Barker books. So let's turn this camera around and wrap this video up. And that is it. Those are the Clive Barker books. Of course, I didn't show the Pinhead books. They did a Pinhead series proper. They kind of gave his origin, or a version of his origin. They also did a Pinhead Judge Law or something like that. It's sort of like a Judge Dredd sort of character. They did a Martial Law. That's what his name. Pinhead versus Martial Law. Law in Hell or something like that. It was like a 2-issue thing. I think I only grabbed the first issue of it because it was quite unimpressive. Now, if you're interested in those, I mean, those are, as far as the epic versions, the epic stories of the Clive Barker books, those were all of them. What I showed you is, as far as I know, is all the ones that they put out. All the Hellraisers with the specials, the Nightbreed, the Books of Blood. Tapping the Van again, that's from Eclipse Comics. You can look for those as well. They do also have, I'm sure you saw it up behind me, but closer look at it, they have collected editions of the Hellraiser books. Now these collected editions, I don't think they put them out in any kind of chronological order. Although the one I have here does collect a story that went through a couple of volumes of Hellraiser. They decided to put it on here, but kind of give you an idea of the sort of art that they had. All kinds of different styles and stories. I better check some of these too, because they did have a tendency to have some nudity in some of these books. But these are also available, and this is what, $23 cover price. I don't know if it's going to be any more expensive now, but that's it. That is the first of my run of Halloween horror full run Fridays, and of course my mini Mondays are going to be horror themed as well. I'm still trying to decide which the first one I want to do is going to be. I'm not certain what it is. I think it's going to be, or I think we're going to start off kind of light. And if we start off kind of light, then that means the first one that I'm going to do is Mort the Dead Teenager, which, if memory serves, is also one of Stan Lee's favorite Marvel sort of out of continuity books. And the book is basically what the title is. It's about this kid Mort who's a dead teenager. And I enjoyed it the first time I read it. It's been a while since I've read it, so it's going to be interesting to reread it to do my review on Monday. So actually, that's what we're going to do. Mini Mondays, first Halloween edition, is going to be Mort the Dead Teenager. We're going to start off light and have some fun with it. So that's it. That's what I got. Thanks everybody for watching, and thanks for your continued support. My new subscribers, thanks for joining us on this wonderful ride. I hope you enjoy what I do. Please like the video, comment, subscribe if you're watching and you're not a subscriber, not a follower. Hit that notification button so you can check out the videos that I do. I'm currently up to 3 videos that I do mostly regularly. The full run Fridays are every Friday so far. The Thursday videos I do, where I do my weekly haul, weekly reviews, that's a weekly deal. Mini Mondays, they're sporadic, but at least through the month of October, they're going to be every week because, you know, it's Halloween. I can actually focus, you know, sort of laser focus more on what I want to do. But anyway, thanks again for watching. I appreciate your time, appreciate your support. Like, comment, subscribe, notification button, all that fun stuff. And we will see everybody on Monday when we talk about Mort the Dead Teenager. Have a great weekend, everybody.